All right, what is up, Bulldogs? So today I have Stirling Cooper here, who is an actual legit male porn star. Okay, let me tell you something. I'm just going to warn you guys ahead of time because I made this mistake. You know, when you search for Stirling Cooper, and then the next time that you go to Pornhub, you're gonna see him.
I actually didn't know that, John. I know that's how good Pornhub's analytics were.
Like the cookie, like, I don't know. Somehow they know. So just so you know, guys. But no, seriously, thanks for coming on here, Sterling. It's pretty cool that you're so open about all these things to talk about.
Oh, look, John, it's fantastic to be back on your show. I always enjoy having a chat with you, and I'm glad because last time we chatted, you came on my show and you were god awful ill.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So now we actually get to have a reasonable conversation without you dripping a bucket load of sweat at the same time.
True.
Yeah.
So So what I thought we'd talk about today is kind of related, and guys, we'll get to this in a little bit because Sterling has a really good announcement that we're gonna talk about, but it's related to this, which is this idea of sexual dominance. This is something that I know a lot of you guys have asked me about. I've talked about this somewhat in the Bulldog Mindset membership, and so when I saw that Sterling was talking about this, I thought, okay, this is good. I need to listen up because this is something where, you know, direct experience and provable experience, you know, if anyone knows about this, you know, Sterling does. So yeah, so I guess maybe we could start off just by talking about, you know, I mean, I guess the first thing that I think is kind of controversial is just the idea of dominance in general, right? I think it's not popular.
No.
When I say this to women, they're like, no, I don't like to be dominated. It's not exactly true, is it?
Yes, you do, honey. You just don't like admitting it. Like, come on. Look, there's a reason why 50 Shades of Grey was such a big seller, right? There's a reason why, and this last year there was that movie series 365 DNI, which was like a Polish or something version of 50 Shades of Grey. There's a reason this stuff is really, really popular with ladies. If anyone's ever read like old school Mills and Boon novels, I don't know if you're familiar with those. They're like the old romance novels with Fabio on the cover.
Okay, yeah.
My mother used to read them, and I picked up one day, and I was flabbergasted at what my mother was reading. I was like, "What is this trash?" Like, but look, women have been like, okay, there's this taboo, yes, around mentioning that women like to be dominated in the bedroom, right? And it's kind of funny because there's the whole thing with like feminism nowadays is like anything that is remotely tangential to pre-feminist revolution is evil, right? So really funny example of this. I had my friend Lola Faye, she's another porn performer. I had her on my show doing an interview with her before I left Los Angeles. I'm actually in Portugal right now, if you didn't know, John.
Oh, okay. I figured you're traveling with I figured this is not your usual office, the bathroom. I mean,
it's not a bathroom. I'm not in the bathroom. This is how they tile the kitchens here in Portugal. Okay. Every podcast I've been on this week, everyone's asking, why the hell is Sterling on the toilet?
He's just in a public bathroom, just
guys just waltzing in past me. Yeah. But I had my friend Lola Faye on, and Lola Faye has she works as like as a sub. She works as a professional dom. She's been in the BDSM scene for a while, and I was talking to her, and I asked her the question: who has, like, of anyone, all the people you know, who has the best, most functional relationship? Who of all your friends, who has the best relationship that you know of? And she thought about it for a second, and she was like, you know what? There's this one BDSM couple, and they're hands down the most functional, like the best, happiest relationship I know. And what they do in their dom sub dynamic is they basically do a 1950s housewife kind of setup where she cooks and cleans and does all the domestic duties. He goes, works, comes home and flogs her in the evening, and they are as happy as Larry. And I just sort of had to bite my tongue a little bit around Lola, and I was like, isn't that interesting that they're both extremely happy in this situation. But guys are sort of lied to with a lot of the stuff that that women don't like this. Like, guys have this delusion in their head, unfortunately, and it's not their fault. They've just been lied to through freaking Disney and Hollywood and all this nonsense, that women are these delicate flowers that are so fragile that you have to be extra careful in the way you handle them and stuff. And any man with a modicum of bedroom experience can tell you right now that they like to be manhandled. This is a very attractive thing for them, right? So when you get, unfortunately, when you get a guy like me coming along who's in the industry, who also sort of says the honest to God truth about this stuff, hoes get mad. They don't like to. They don't like to hear this stuff.
I bet not. Well, and I think that part of it is a defensive mechanism to weed out weak guys, right? So I suppose like one of the arguments we haven't seen in the chat yet, but I know it's going to come up, so I'm just going to address it ahead of time, which is guys tell me all the time, they're like, you know what? You say this, John, you say like women like to be dominated. I tried it, and whoa, the response I got was so bad. And my answer has always been, well, it's because she was testing you. Like, she didn't really feel like you were literally trying it, and she sensed that. She didn't actually feel safe with you and secure. What do you think about that,
dude? So there's a thing that the way you do this stuff, right, is you have to come across congruent. Right? And congruency is when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are all in alignment with one another. And if you're trying to execute some kind of more dominant sex act, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, "Oh, I really hope she likes this."
Right.
And you do something. No shit, it's not going to work. Like, because you look like a pussy. Right. I'm sorry, but you don't look like the kind of guy who should be manhandling her. And I've had guys ask me, like, why do you think that women enjoy being manhandled? Why do you think women enjoy sort of BDSM or more kinkier, rougher kind of play, right? And the reason I think this is, it comes down to is a demonstration that you as a man have the capacity for violence, and thus you have the ability to protect her and keep her safe and secure. Because if you don't have the capacity for violence, then you definitely can't protect her, right? And this is kind of like a deep-seated, like psychological, biological way of sort of showing to a woman that you have the capacity for violence. You are stronger and more physically dominant than her, so you can keep her safe because of that, right? It's sort of like a reassurance. It's a security thing in the back of her head, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of funny because actually just by coincidence this morning I had an Instagram post where I had a video clip where I was talking about the phrase which I dislike, which is, she's not yours, it's just your turn. And what I had said at the end was that it's more accurate to say she's given you to herself in this moment, like the whole ownership, because it seems to me that women want to be owned. They want to feel that ownership, that's like maybe the most extreme form of domination, is like she's yours, like, but it's in that moment. It's a contextual thing. It's not like, it doesn't mean she's never going to leave you. It just means that like that feeling of ownership and that dominance, I think, is so important. But so many guys don't. It's almost like they're afraid. Like they're afraid to actually go all the way, so they're just dancing with it. So that's why I think it would be good to maybe you can give some tips, and we'll talk about some more stuff, like because if guys want to be dominant, they have to be good at it. Like if you attempt, like you said, and you're like you can't, you're like, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to tie you up, but just hold on a second. Well,
actually, that's the one. Okay, I'm going to disagree with you very, very slightly here on that, with that particular example, because the first time I ever tied a girl up, this is ages ago, long time ago. I had this girl. I worked in a bar, and she was one of the barmaids with me, and we got along really well. I brought her home to my place, and I was like, "Look, I want to try." Actually, I think I even told her this while we were on shift together. I was like, Have you ever done any bondage? She's like, "No, but I'm interested." I'm like, "So am I. Come over tonight." Yeah. She came over. And so I've got my bondage rope out, and I literally just had my laptop there open and was watching a YouTube demo while I was doing it on her. Yeah. And in that particular instance, she was so turned on that her juices were literally running down her leg as I was taking my time doing this stuff. So that is the one exception, I would say. But she was a very, very, she was like an 18-year-old girl, like inexperienced. So maybe that's kind of helped me. Obviously I was learning what I was doing.
Okay.
But I do agree with your general consensus there. That guys need to not. It's the unfortunate thing is you have to demonstrate that you've kind of got more sexual experience than her,
right?
And in this sort of day and age, that's actually kind of hard because most guys, like women of their equivalent age, have actually had more sex than the dude has, for the most part, right? Like a 20-year-old girl has way more sexual experience. The average American 20-year-old girl, don't get me wrong. Maybe not somewhere else in the world. Look, definitely in California. The average American Californian 20-year-old girl has way more sexual experience than the average 20-year-old Californian man.
Right.
So how the hell is a guy supposed to lead a woman through the sexual experience, be in control and be dominant when she actually knows more than him in a way?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where I think it makes sense to get some help with this, right? Like I was saying, and I'm curious, that's interesting with your scenario with the ropes, because a lot of guys, they're trying to do stuff and they're coming across as weak. And so maybe you just had that enough of a frame where you're just like,
well, I definitely had the frame in that situation. She was definitely putty in my hands whilst I was learning that. But there was a funny thing you mentioned a minute ago where you're that kind of whole ownership thing, right? Like sometimes if I'm flirting with a girl on Instagram who's like on the other side of the world or whatever, I'm like, look, you're gonna fly out here and you're gonna hang out with me in Europe, all right? But you're mine. There's no other dick. You know what I mean? Like using that phrase, "you're mine." Yes. The reply I get from that is like, "Oh my god, that's so hot."
Exactly. Yeah,
that's what they say. They don't say, "Oh, you misogynist, get out of here."
Right.
No, because they're flirting with me, and if I tell them I want that they're mine, they love it. Like that's if they find you an attractive man, they want you to take them. And one of the things that a lot of guys in my industry, a little bit of dirty talk that a lot of guys in my industry throw into a sex scene. That no matter what girl they're working with, they'll whisper in the girl's ear in the middle of the scene or at the beginning of the scene. They'll whisper in the girl's ear, "This pussy is mine today."
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Like that, and that just fires them up, man. They love it.
The thing about it too is I think it's such a like you said with Instagram, it's such a almost like risky, bold move, because when it's almost like if you don't know what the response. If you have enough experience, that the response is usually going to be positive, right? And extremely positive. But if you don't know that, to type that out, it takes some balls to or even just to whisper that, right? It's like, I think so many guys they're skirting the edge. They're trying to be dominant, but they're not going far enough. So it's not a believable act, right? It is an act, right? It's not believable.
Well, yeah. So they're trying to, they're not taking the risk of failing.
Right.
And that's one of the most, I think I remember reading this somewhere, I wish I could find it again. It was some kind of biological, evolutionary psychology sort of analysis of what character traits are really, really attractive in men. And one of them that nailed it. It's the idea of calculated risk taking, right? A guy who has the balls to take risks, but he's not a complete idiot. He's not jumping off cliffs for no reason. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to fight this lion strategically. So I don't know, we have furs for the winter," whatever it is, But that's kind of an example of calculated risk taking is I've got confidence that this girl's into me. I've got confidence that I've seen this work before for me. So I'm going to take the risk and potentially knock her off the fence one side or the other. She's either going to love me or she's going to hate me.
Exactly.
But she's definitely going to do something.
I think of it as kind of like those movie scenes. Have you ever seen a movie where you've got this kind of scared character and he pulls a gun and he's like, "Stop," and then the other character is like, "You're not going to use that. Shut up." They're they have a gun literally pointed at them and they're like, "Fuck you, get out of here." And they're because they know that he doesn't have the you know what I mean. And it's that's how I see. So
But
So
unfortunately, in this scenario, that gun is his penis.
yeah, exactly. So okay, so how can guys be able to actually really be dominant to where it's actually going to be like, what does it take? What is the mind frame? What are what's the best way for a guy to learn this? Because I think all guys want to learn this, but I think a lot of guys are like, I'm just going to stick with whatever because I'm afraid, because I don't want to mess up doing it, and it doesn't feel like me. It's not in my character. You know what I mean? You get all these kind of excuses, but they'd really love to be that guy. But can they be that guy? How do they go about that?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, you and me would agree on this, that we don't agree that your sort of deterministic idea of, your life. Like, you can change things, you can change your body, you can change, like, I changed my wang or whatever, and you can, and this is like, sex is a skill just like any other, right? So if a guy says to me like, oh, I'm not very dominant in the bedroom, I could never do that kind of stuff, well, that's a lie, because I couldn't do it when I was 18 either.
Right.
I learnt how to do this, like, over consistent time, trial, and experience. Like, for those of you who might not be familiar with my background, not only am I an adult film star, I also used to work as a high-class male companion back in Australia, where it's legal. I used to service wealthy businesswomen for money and that sort of stuff. So I've been paid for the better part of the last decade to do this stuff professionally. So I've picked up a trick or two. And for me, there's sort of 4 elements that guys sort of need to get their heads around to sort of progress to the point where they're very, very dominant in the bedroom, or go from being vanilla to being more dominant, right? And those 4 elements to me are like leading the sexual interaction, because honest to God, some guys just lay there and are like a star. No joke. They literally do this. Like, they're just like a starfish, like the male equivalent of a starfish. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
The second thing is they need to demonstrate that they're more physically dominant. They need to physically dominate her in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah.
And the third thing is that they need to throw in an element of, this sounds bad, but I'm going to say it anyway, an element of degradingness. This is when I say degrading, this is really just going down the realm of like being kinky and perverted and naughty and dirty. Like things like butt stuff. That's kind of degrading in a way. Like, I'm not talking necessarily about like, calling her mean names and making her cry. I mean, don't get me wrong, some girls are actually into that, but there's varying degrees of this. And then the 4th element I throw in is this idea of being sadistic, which is the idea of delivering pleasure through pain. So this is actually BDSM stuff. This is like floggers and riding crops and spanking and this sort of stuff, right? So these sort of 4 elements really, really help a guy to demonstrate that he is dominant in the bedroom. And this is like a 2-way street as well. Like, when a guy, because like you said with the example we gave before, where the guy is like shaking, holding the gun or whatever, right? That's like the incongruence between thoughts, words, and actions, right? But when you start to do more dominant things in the bedroom consistently, it inevitably reinforces a more dominant frame of mind. You can't get away from it, because the 2 are interconnected, right? In the same way, it goes the way around as well. If you think more dominant thoughts, you are more likely to just act upon them and act more physically dominant, just by virtue of the way you're thinking and your belief system, right? So that absolutely goes both ways. Like, and so as a guy starts to learn this stuff and he starts to develop, starts to control a bit more, starts to be more physically dominant, maybe a bit more perverted, degrading, maybe a bit more sadistic, he then starts to emulate the naturally dominant behaviors of a guy with far more experience than him in the bedroom.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I would imagine I know it carries over to real life as well, like outside, because when you're used to this kind of reaction from women and from people in general, you do more of it because you have a positive reinforcement of it, and it feels natural to you, as opposed to trying to figure out what to do. And then it's more of that's just how you operate. I've got some people already in the chat, so you guys are getting ahead of me here. I'm going to go ahead and post a link in the chat, because I know you guys are already asking for the course. I was just trying to be smooth, like smoothly introduce the course, and you guys are already asking for the course. Someone said they already bought the course, so good. So
fantastic.
so it's kind of funny. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about. So Stirling mentioned to me that he had this course, and at first I was thinking, I don't know if I want to sell like but then I was like, okay, I normally do like a big affiliate promotion, like do an email listing. I was like, okay, send me the course, let me take a look at it, and I was like, okay, but then I looked at it and I was like, damn, this is good stuff. I watched the entire course, okay, because and it clicked in my head. I was like, you know what? I've done some stuff in the Bulldog Mindset membership about like I have a section in there where I talk about stuff that I won't talk about on YouTube. The C word that ends with a G. We'll just avoid that one. But like hair pulling and spanking and escalating above that, and I kind of demonstrated some of those things, like or talked about some of those things. But that's like that's like mild compared to what Stirling put together. So when I watched the course, I was like, this is exactly what guys need, because they really need to, like, I'm trying to kind of help you to be more dominant, but Stirling's course is showing you exactly what to do, right? And that's, I think it's so hard to communicate, because when I was trying to make the video trying to give you guys some help on this, it's hard, because how can I like get you in my mind, and you know what I mean? But to see actual examples, to see it broken down by someone who's way more of an expert than I am, that I was like, okay, this is definitely something that I've got to promote, because you guys need this stuff. So anyway, so we'll talk. I think now we can start segueing into talking about the course.
The cat's out of the bag now, John.
Yeah, but I watched it and I thought it was really, really, really good. In fact, the biggest takeaway that I got from it, I'll give a little bit of a spoiler if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Which was when you said in there about having the frame. I think you said coming into the frame of being like a sexual pervert, like for your own
selfish pervert.
Yeah, for your own satisfaction. And when you said that, I was like, that's because it resonated with me, because I was like, that's exactly what women like. And it seems so, like, I don't think a guy would stumble upon this by himself, because it seems so contradictory. It seems like being selfish and being that way would be a complete turnoff, but it's the opposite. So talk a little bit about the course.
I'm happy to elaborate on that. Yeah, I love talking about this stuff. So first of all, thank you so much for the kind review, because I know you looked at it. I didn't know you'd watched the entire thing either, but I know you looked a little bit. So hearing that you've seen the entire thing and you're saying these words, thank you so much, John. That's fantastic. Obviously, the other people who've seen this course ahead of you have said the same thing, but coming from a guy like you, who I know kind of already gets this, is just more sort of reassurance that I'm absolutely nailing it on the head with this one. But this idea of coming from the selfish pervert frame that I talk about, right? It's because the problem that a lot of guys come from is they worry so much about pleasing her. They worry so much. It's almost like it's like performative. Their bedroom, their time in the sack isn't fun for them. They're like trying to please her, trying to impress her, hoping, I really hope she enjoys herself. So I see her again. I hope she comes back. It's like, no, like that's the completely wrong way to go about it. And it sounds very counterintuitive, yes. But if you come at it from this idea of being and that's why it's selfish and pervert. It's not just selfish, because if you're just selfish, then you're just going to bust a nut in 2 minutes and be done, right? Yeah. But if you're a selfish pervert, then you want to explore and have fun with every square inch of her body. Like, you want to press all of her buttons. You want to get her off in all these kinds of twisted, sadistic, perverted kind of ways, right? You're using her like she's your private little fuck doll, right? Exactly. I hope I can swear on your channel, because too late. But that's kind of where that helps to sort of reinforce this more dominant mind frame. And I think that's a great place for dudes to start. And I've actually used this mental framework for guys to actually help them overcome kind of performance anxiety issues in the bedroom. Because a lot of the performance anxiety issues guys face is coming from a frame of mind of, I hope she likes me, and trying to impress her. If you give yourself permission it's not even giving yourself permission to fail, really. It's like not giving a shit is primarily what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't and it's the ultimate irony, the ultimate paradox, that the less you give a shit about getting her off, the more likely you actually are to get her off.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And that in and of itself is actually kind of is also an element of that sort of degrading thing that I'm talking about, where it's like, I'm just having my way with you, and she is getting off on that kind of framework. So it's like a mental, it's very mentally stimulating, like mentally sexually stimulating for them when you're coming at it from that kind of angle. So yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I haven't mentioned that very much recently.
Yeah, I think that was, I mean, that was like really like it kind of tied everything together, and it's just it's so funny because and that was one of the things I was like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, definitely I have to get guys getting this course, because so many guys that I talk to, they're buying all these books, they're buying courses on like how the technique of like how to, this is the 2 o'clock one, and they're focusing on all these little like things. And I mean, granted, some of those things are important, and you cover some of those things in the course, but they're thinking that if they can just get the technique right, the technical technique, that's going to work, and that it's so far from the truth. It's like completely opposite. So they're focusing on such the wrong thing, instead of the easy thing, which is just to be like, okay, whatever kind of sick, perverted thoughts you have in your mind, just act those out without any regard for anything else, and you're way more closer to the right direction. And it's so hard, I think, for guys to accept that, but if you understand that truth, it's so much easier. And so
yeah. And a lot of I mean, every guy will come at this from a different sort of comfort level, right?
Yeah.
So like, you are going to be comfortable. You are already obviously comfortable with basically like 99% of the things in this course, right? It's like you come in like, okay, yes, I can do all that. I'm comfortable doing all these things. Like that, none of this is sort of shocking to you. It's not like it doesn't put you too far out of your comfort zone, right? But with say a more inexperienced guy, because sometimes when a guy hears that he needs to be more dominant in the bedroom, they assume they have to go from 0 to 100 straight away, right? They assume they have to like. He's like I don't know, he's in a sexless marriage. He reads some Cosmo article, be like, be more. Actually, he probably wouldn't read that in a Cosmo article, if I'm being fair. He hears it on one of our channels, be more dominant in the bedroom, right? And he's like, oh, okay. And he goes home and he like tries to crack his wife in the cheek or something, right? And he's signing divorce papers 2 weeks later. Exactly. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. It's a progression, right? You have to be, like I said, congruent with it, and part of being congruent with it is starting off at a place where you're already kind of comfortable, right? And I'll start explaining a bit of the course, because this kind of makes sense. One of the big chunks of this video course is what I call my 0 to 100 scale, and the idea is that I can take a guy at the 0 range, 0 being very tame, very vanilla. Some things that most guys are going to be very, very comfortable executing in the bedroom. And then I can baby step him all the way up to 100, which is where they would be comfortable doing things that are normally involved in a BDSM scenario. And so once they're at that point, then if they want to go down the path of doing a BDSM dom sub relationship, then they're kind of, they're easy to plug and play into that. So if a guy has, the example before, the guy in a sexless marriage who has been told he needs to be more dominant in the bedroom, instead of him cocking up and trying to go to 100 straight away, he can come into this course and be like, oh, okay, I'm very, this stuff isn't too crazy. I could definitely do this. And he can start to implement some of that stuff in his love life. And then, okay, maybe he one more step further along the ladder, and then another step further, and then another step further. And before you know it, he's eventually at the point where he's comfortable and congruent doing all the things on the spectrum, because he's baby stepped his way there. And more importantly, she is comfortable with him doing them as well, because it's basically what I show guys in this is kind of it's a sexual compliance ladder, right, where they're baby stepping her compliance in the bedroom across the same spectrum. And so if a girl is comfortable with something, say, like I said, I break it down from 0 to 100, right? And I put it into 4 quarters in this video course. So if a girl is comfortable with something, say, at the 75 mark, then typically, in my experience, and I've had a fair bit of experience with this stuff, she's comfortable with everything from 0 to 25, 25 to 50. Right? If she's okay with this particular sex act, typically she is comfortable with all the things underneath that that ranking. And so this kind of goes for both girls and the guys with the 0 to 100 scale. That's sort of like the bulk of this course is that giant chunk there.
And I think it's really good that you said that as far as like where you're comfortable at, because of that congruency that we were talking about earlier. And I was thinking like just a simple thing that I think that you had, like from the 0 to 25, like one of them was just like pushing her down onto the bed, right? Just like a shove. And it's like most guys could do that. Like for to do something more extreme, like I don't care where you're at, you could probably like feel comfortable doing that. I mean, it might be slightly out of your comfort zone. And then that positive feedback loop, because you do something really small and then you see the reaction, and now it gives you a little bit more confidence to be able to do something a little bit more. And that's why I really like the way that you put the course together with the levels, is because if someone just tells you all these advanced techniques and things like that, you're just not going to have the confidence to be able to do it with congruency. Like you might try it and then you get a negative response, and then you're like, oh, I'm never going to do that again. Like you said, just smack it, but like just like pushing up against the wall or pushing down on the bed, like you're going to get that, and you're going to positive feedback, and then it's going to make you a little bit more bold, and then you can be congruent all the way up, as opposed to guys that are just trying to like, okay, I heard that, I'm going to take some candle wax and just, and then they have a negative reaction. They never ever try anything like that again because of that experience.
Well, that is kind of what I was mentioning before with it's a two-way feedback loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So by doing these sort of more dominant things, you're reinforcing that dominant mind frame, and if you baby step it that way, there's not so much of a cognitive dissonance. There's not so much of like a difference between who you perceive yourself to be and who you're acting like. That gap is small enough for you to bridge the gap, right? And then you can progress and go on to doing more extreme things. And another part of this course is I break down what I call progressions, which is where if a guy, because a large part of this course it's not only about like getting the woman off. A large part of this course is also about you guys fulfilling your sexual fantasies, because you want to have some fun with this. It's not all about her, for goodness sake. And a lot of guys say things like, "Oh, I'd love to try butt stuff with my lady or with a girl," and the problem that most guys have, actually the problem that most girls have rather with anal sex, is that she's had some dude in her past just try to ram it in there a million miles an hour down to the hilt with no lube like the first time. And it's given her a very, very bad reference experience.
Right.
What I do in this course is I show guys how to, and this is just one example of a progression in this course, I break down several of them, how you can baby step a girl, again, through a sexual compliance ladder, but it's a specific one to get to a specific end point. So all the different ways you can baby step her towards doing butt stuff. And then so you take a girl who's never done it or is not open to the idea, and you baby step her to the point where she is open and keen on the idea. And and there's a lot of stuff involved in that. And then the third part of this course is what I call stacks. And this is basically where you would take like a handful of elements that I've covered in, say, the 0 to 100 spectrum, and you're just stacking them all on top of one another simultaneously to sort of give her this very overwhelming sexual experience in that one sex session, So and it's allowing you to sort of get away with is probably the wrong phrase to use. Sounds manipulative, but it allows you to get more compliance out of her, because you're doing multiple things simultaneously on top of one another, if that makes sense.
You're creating
it's a bit hard to explain it without actually seeing it, but unfortunately this is YouTube and we can't really show you like 80% of what is in this video course, because as John can attest, this is real sex. Like I'm not sugarcoating anything. That's the thing, guys. This is the world's first no bullshit sex education course. Like I'm not sugarcoating. I'm not lying. I'm not dancing around the bushes being like, oh, she really likes when you do the dishes. No, none of that bullshit. Yeah, it's like, this is what works. Simple.
And guys, for it's kind of a warning and I suppose a benefit, like in the sense that this is unique. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to have Sterling on to talk about this course, is because you will see Sterling's penis in the course. Let me just tell you that, okay? All right, like, because he's actually showing you the real, like he's not just saying, okay, this is what you do, and like demonstrating on a dummy, okay? He's showing you the actual thing. So it's a benefit because you're seeing the real thing. So it's also a warning because you're going to be seeing the real thing. But my point is that how are you going to learn if you don't actually, because I've read books, I've seen different people talking about techniques and things like that. And if you're not actually seeing the real, not only what I really liked about it was that you show each one of the, like each and every single thing that you're talking about, but then you put them all together in natural flow, so then people can actually see how does this all kind of work together, which is, it's like, I mean, because that's a big question I think that a lot of guys have, is like, well, okay, so when do I do this and that, and they're trying to like make it formulaic instead of seeing, like, when you see the flow and you see how it's actually happening, and where else are you going to see that? I mean, you're not going to really see that in real life. If you buy a book, you're not going to see that. If you watch an actual porn movie, you're not seeing the real thing, you know what I mean? So it's like to actually have something like this that's completely unique, as far as I can tell, I've never seen anything like that, is really, really highly beneficial. And I feel like it's the best way to learn that I've come across so far. So,
and I kind of wanted to make this, for want of a better phrase, I kind of wanted to make this like autism proof, if I could. Yeah. So, which is why it is a little bit, I feel like I break things down, quite a bit, but that's for, guys who might, like I said, might not have as much experience. And I try to make it as crystal clear as I possibly can what I'm doing. I'm trying not to leave too much open to interpretation, so that, a guy who's perhaps more analytical can come into this and learn exactly like you just said, John. Learn exactly like, okay, how does this all tie together? Okay, well, here's a crystal clear example of all these things tying together in a real life scenario.
In fact, I would say that, like, even just the price of the course alone is worth one thing that I'll tell you that Sterling demonstrates in this course, which is how to appropriately
do that
without, because how you think it works is not how it actually works.
Yeah,
that's what I'll say. So you have to check out the course.
It's how to do that without getting a Me Too allegation, basically.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Because I think that alone is worth the course price of entry. But there's so many of the other things that he talks about in there that I just was like you said, you broke it down to where no one could misinterpret it, exactly what to do. Even things like, I mean, there were some things I think where you're saying, like to put your hand on the chin.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And it's like, so because again, I think a lot of guys are unsure. It's like, well, is she going to like this or not? So you gave so many ways for guys to test things out where they can now get an answer without just doing the thing. Like, it's like, I've even heard, I've been around in the community of, for a long time. And a lot of times guys are like, oh yeah, just smack her. And I'm like, okay, you could do that. That's all right. But if you just do that, it might work out for you, but it might work out really bad for you.
So might work out really badly. Yeah.
So if you know something else to, like, you can test the waters if you have a step, which I had never seen anyone else talk about this before, but that was like, there's a bunch of missing links here, guys, where people are telling you things, but they're not actually showing you the actual thing. So everything made sense here for testing the waters, saying, okay, this is how you know that this is going to be positive or not. And to move forward. So I really appreciated that part of the course as well.
Thank you, John. Yeah. What John's talking about is sort of my body, is like sexual body language cues that I give all these guys. Very quickly, someone's just mentioned in the chat, someone's given the wrong link. Someone said where they can buy the course on Stirling's website. StirlingCooper.com is not where you buy the course. Buy the course on the link that's scrolling down on the bottom of the screen right now, bulldogmindset.com/SDOM. That's where you will get your hands on the course.
And I just
it will be that's the one. Right, that's the one. Right now, so just to briefly explain to guys, so the course is on pre-order right now. Pre-order ends on January the 3rd. The full price of the course is $7.99. If you get it on pre-order, you get it at 50% off, but that ends on January the 3rd. So if you want to get the 50% discount, get it before January the 3rd. Use John's link right here. On January the 3rd, it goes live. You get full access to the course. You get full access for life. It's never going away. This is up there forever. And because here's the thing, this is like this is like my entire professional philandering career downloaded from my brain into yours, right? So you now have like access to this stuff for years to come when you want to implement it with a new relationship, with a long-term relationship, with a one-night stand, whatever context you want to apply this in, you've got it. And the other thing here is, at the very, very end of the course, I give you guys my personal email where you can hit me up if there's anything I didn't cover in the course that you want to know about, like a particular thing, like a particular sex act, for example. You can email me and I can give you my honest appraisal and breakdown of it. And then in about 12 months' time, I'm going to accumulate those questions and do more modules and add them to the course. And you guys will get access to that for life now, because now you bought the first iteration of this. As I add to it, you'll get access to those as you go along. So there's that as well.
Yeah, it's an awesome deal, guys. I'm telling you, like, I mean, I went through the whole thing myself. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't worth it. And if you can get it at a 50% discount, I would highly recommend that you check it out, because it will. There will be something you will learn from it, and it will improve your sex life for sure.
And somebody is asking for a teaser, and I'm happy to show some safe for YouTube teasers right now if you'd like, John.
Oh yeah, let's do it. If you got them ready to roll,
these will not get you banned. You'll be good. I'm just going to share my screen with you there, and that should be good.
Okay.
There we go. Now it's up. You can see that?
Yep. Okay.
Excellent. Okay. So this is an example of something that's at the sort of low scale, like the 0 to 25 scale, the very, very tame stuff that most men would be very, very comfortable applying this like tonight. And it's also something you do before you even get to sex. This is something that you can do when you bring a girl home from a date to start sexually escalating and leading things towards the bedroom. Because that's another thing I haven't even talked about yet, is that a lot of guys have, like, they go on a date with a girl, it's great, they're charming her, everything's going swimmingly. Then they get her home and they don't really know how to escalate things towards sex, right?
Right.
And a lot of the stuff in the very beginning of this course is perfect for that. It's perfect for leading it towards a sexual interaction. So let's get into this first demo clip. So there's a couple of things you'll notice here. I'll pause it. So first things first, I'm leading her through the door. An important thing to take note of. I'm holding her by the hand and leading her through the door here. Second thing you'll notice, as I'm about to throw her up against the wall here, or against the door here rather, see where my hand went? My hand went behind her head. There's a reason for that. That is so I can push her against the door or the wall or whatever I'm pushing her against with force without smacking her head and hurting her. So I'm able to because my hand's taking the brunt of the pain there, right? Or brunt of the impact, rather. So I can push her up against the wall in a relatively forceful manner, dominant manner, without actually causing any pain, without adding any sort of awkwardness to the interaction as well. Because you bring a girl home from a date and you crack her head against the door, she's going to be like, ow, and it's going to ruin the mood, right? So it's a very, very subtle but very important detail there. Then a quick make out, and then an example of cockheading here. I break it off and I walk away, and then she follows. So that's a perfect example of cockheading right there. So that's an example of how the whole course sort of looks, right? So you'll have what will typically happen in the course is you'll have the demo footage will play first, and then you'll see me pop up in the corner there, and I'll be explaining and breaking down exactly what just happened.
And I like how detailed. I mean, I guess people can see from that demo, like the subtle things like that you wouldn't think about, like putting the hand behind the head, because that could really make it a bad experience. Not that I've made this mistake before, but maybe. And it's like now you cause an injury, and now it's like shit. You're trying to do something smooth and dominant, and now you're like getting ice from the freezer.
Yeah,
that kind of ruins it. So it's like these little things, and the thing that I appreciate about it is that you have to really know what you're talking about to actually have enough foresight to think about these things to tell people, which shows that you're getting the information from someone who really knows what they're talking about. So it's those little things, and even like that demonstration, just an example, the cockheading, where you're like doing the pull away there. It's like just those little subtle things that are so valuable that most guys probably wouldn't pay much attention to or pick up on the details, but you break it all down. So
yeah, and cockheading, for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, is the idea of sexual push-pull. So it's cockheading is what strippers do to you. So when a stripper is like grinding up on your lap and then you try to touch her and she slaps your hand away, doesn't let you touch her, it's like she's giving you the sexual arousal and then she's taking it away. So this is probably the most powerful technique guys can apply when it comes to taking things from like a date to sex, like bringing a girl home from a date and getting her fired up to transition into sex. Cockheading is super, super powerful, because if in the example I just gave, like if you're doing something dominant, ramping up the sexual energy, getting her hot and heavy, and then you break it off, you create that space for her to chase. You create that space for her to reinitiate, because she wants to keep those good feelings. She wants to keep that that high, that buzz, that excitement. And then, but to do that, she has to chase, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Rather than because what most guys do is they're so desperate to get their pee-pee wet that they're the ones constantly trying to get more, and they never break off and give the girl a chance to chase them, even when it comes to sex.
Yeah.
Would you guys like to see a couple more examples? Because I've got a couple more safer work ones we can throw in here.
Let's do it. Throw guys in the chat if you want to see some more examples. Put it in the chat. Tell us.
There was a question here from Alvaro. He says, "Is there a table of contents of the course?" Yes, there's I've added in a PDF reference guide with timestamps, so you can go through the PDF guide. If there's a particular technique you want to learn, then you can just it's in module this at this time, bang, and you can find it. So that's how you can sort of navigate through this stuff and reference back if there's something that really caught your attention. You can find it after the fact as well. So good question. I'm glad you asked that. We got some. I've seen some ones. I'm seeing some ones here already done. Do it. Which one was going to go with here? Let's show some hair pulling, shall we?
Okay. I'm all about the hair pulling.
This will not get you in trouble, I promise. I actually had to cut a bit of this
hair. Which hair?
Yeah, that's another part that I cut out of this. Are we good to go?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, cool. So here we're showing the correct way to pull a girl's hair. Now, there's a bit of tact here. So you'll notice that you notice where I'm grabbing it. I'm grabbing up. I'm starting at the base of her scalp, and I'm pushing up to grasp the hair in my hands like that. And then I actually have a lot of control there over her head. And this is actually a very pleasurable feeling for her. It's a pleasurable feeling, and it's a submissive feeling. She knows I'm in control. I can actually move her around. And it sends a lot of women into this very euphoric headspace, like straight away. That's how you do it from the back, and then this is how you do it from the front. Again, very subtle, and then bang, I can pull her head back, make her stare me right in the eyes. She knows who's in charge here. Now, in the next example here, the next example is a little bit exaggerated, but this is how some guys kind of pull their hair, just like grab tufts of it. Obviously, she's overacting here a bit, but there is a time and a place to do that kind of hair pull, and you can do this sort of when she's mushed down onto the bed in doggy style, for example. If you just like grabbing a scrunch of hair and then turning and making out with it, that makes sense. But if you're trying to pull her hair erotically, just grabbing a random tuft and tugging her head around, that shows a lack of experience. That shows a lack of tact if you're trying to do it erotically, right? So there's a distinction here. There is a time and a place for doing something like that if she's the kind of girl who likes to be completely manhandled, completely tossed around, and actually kind of likes pain to a degree, then sure, this kind of way of pulling a girl's hair, like just wrangling her like a rag doll, there is a context for that, but you need to be able to read the girl when she's kind of into that. And like I said, I would prefer to sort of grab her hair like that when I'm mushing her into the bed somewhere. So there you go. That is the breakdown of hair pulling technique, because I've seen a lot of guys make that mistake. You know that.
Oh yeah. And I like even just how you, I mean, with that first example where you're making it more about the idea of controlling the head, like controlling as opposed to tugging on hair. I think that when guys hear hair pulling, they're thinking, oh yeah, let's, and while there's some element to that, like the more important dominant aspect of it is the fact that you're controlling where her head goes, and that's, again, these subtle things, guys, are the things that make this why I was like, I'm pretty excited, I guess you guys can tell, because I really think this is really valuable stuff. Like I was skeptical at first, but I watched it and then I was like, damn, this is like better than anything I've ever seen. And for, to communicate this kind of stuff is so difficult, but to see it in action, to see like by someone who's a master at it, and the subtle things, that's what got me so excited, because I was like, okay, this is really, really valuable stuff. So
And there's guys talk about, in when it comes to like dating advice and stuff, right? You'll hear the term pre-selection come up a lot. That being the idea that like women are attracted to a guy who other women are attracted to, right? And there's no better form of pre-selection than knowing your way around a woman's body. Mm-hmm. If you know what buttons to push, if you know how to manhandle her properly, if you know how to do all these things, it's a clear indication that you have been with women before, because otherwise you wouldn't know that. And therefore it's just in her mind, she's like, oh damn, this guy fucks because he knows how to do all this stuff. If you know your way around a woman's body better than she does, if you can give her a sexual experience she's never had before, if you can give her a kind of orgasm she's never had before, and we cover that in this course, we cover a few different types of orgasms in this course. If you can do that to a woman, that immediately makes you the best sex she's ever had by default. That's just how that works. Like you can't not be, because no one else has done this stuff to her before. And that's kind of how you keep if you want to be the kind of guy who's casually dating lots of different women, then this is how you keep them in rotation. You keep them coming back for daddy's dick because they love it so much,
And I think so many guys have the impression that the bar is so high, but the bar is actually so low. Yes. And it's like just understanding 0 to 25 is going to put you in the 90th percentile of guys that she's ever been with. And if you're at the 50 level, then you're like there's probably virtually like 99% chance she's never had any experience of that.
Exactly.
Sport, right.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. Like the bar is guys are a lot lazier than most men think. Like they don't put as much effort as you might think. They don't know as much as you might think. And so with this stuff, you're miles ahead of the competition. And like I said, there's a question in the chat here, which I'm going to address here. It says, is this all timeless? Or does a woman's sexual preferences change over time? Well, it doesn't really matter with this stuff, because you have all these tools in your tool bag now, right? So, I mean, if we're talking about the same woman or a different woman, whatever their preferences are, and girls have different preferences, don't get me wrong, there's different things on this spectrum that they're going to gravitate more towards being, that they're really into. Say some girls are really, really into hair pulling. Some girls are really, really into spanking, whatever it might be, right? But now you have all the tools in your toolbox. So it doesn't matter what preference the girl has, you know how to do all these things. So you can cater to it no matter what her preferences are, basically.
Yeah.
And like the question before that, is there a hand holding module? No.
You gotta be a little more advanced than that.
I love that. Well done. I do have. I've got one more. If you got time, we can play one more. Clip.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll let you pick this one, John. Do you want would you rather show them the trap biting stuff or a choke throw?
I think let's go with the choke throw.
Okay, cool. There we go. Was I supposed to say that word? I'm not sure if I was supposed to say that word.
I guess that was the one I was a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right. We'll just...
My bad. If you get cancelled, it's my bad. There we go. Now we're up. Excellent. Yeah, so this is what, like, John actually touched on this before, and then I show a few far less dominant examples of, like, laying a girl on a bed and then just pushing her onto a bed, leading up to this, which is which is what I call like a choke throw, basically. And again, here I am choke throwing her onto the bed. I'm throwing her from there. So we're going to go into choking the next segment, the 50 to 75 segment. But one thing to pay attention to here is I'm grabbing her on the sides of her neck, and then I'm throwing it from there. I'm not trying to slam pressure onto her windpipe and sort of like cause her to like gasp or gag or cause any pain. I'm grabbing and then throwing from the neck. It's a subtle difference from like pushing her onto the bed, but it's an important difference, and it's an important difference psychologically in her head. It's more of a dominant thing to do than just a simple push onto the. This is actually one of my favorite things to do in my personal life, because barely any guy does that.
Yeah.
Well, for a start, because like I know how to CHOKE a girl properly.
Right. Yeah.
I'll stop saying the word. Sorry, John. And because I know how to do that properly, I know where to put my hands properly. Right. And without me actually doing the full act, just by putting my hands in the right place and then throwing a girl, it demonstrates that I have the capacity, that I know where to put my hands and I know how to do that later on down the line. So she's anticipating something later on, because she's like, damn, this guy I know what he just did. He just did something that most guys can't do, because it takes tact and it takes hand placement and it takes an awareness of of her body and how to move it around and how to not hurt her. Most importantly, how to do something like that that's kind of physically dominant without hurting her. That's the important thing here. There's a lot of that in this course.
And I think, Rainbow had said, I think I know what he's saying. I can't enjoy it, dude. And that was my first reaction. I think most guys' first reaction, I don't know, that was mine, like, when I was first like learning some of these things. And then, but what I found that you realize is that when you see the reaction that they get, like, it's almost like your enjoyment comes from their reaction, not necessarily that, because I don't know. I mean, maybe it's different with different guys, but like the idea of like, okay, or it doesn't really like, I don't think, oh yeah, that's what I want to do, but when you see the reaction of some of these things, that is the thing that I think fires you up. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's what got me to the place where I am now, comfortable doing all this stuff. Is that positive reinforcement from women when you do the stuff properly, seeing their body language, seeing their seeing their faces light up with a big grin. You're like, damn, like she's really into this. Nice. I'm going to keep doing it. And it's deriving, like, I'm getting off on getting her off. I'm not getting off on inflicting pain of any kind. I'm getting off on delivering pleasure through pain. That's the distinction there.
And I got to tell you guys also, there's a bonus module, okay, that Stirling included in there. Got some really good stuff, right? Especially on the oral, like a guarantee technique, which I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, this is the guarantee technique. But when you see what he's actually putting out there and why, you'll see why it's actually a guaranteed technique to work every time if you have enough patience. But I thought that was the most, because I've seen a lot on that particular subject, and the way that you presented it was the best that I've seen. So
thank you very much, John. Thank you. No, and so the bonus module is a collection of, I think it's 4 or 5 different things that I wanted to throw in, because they're not actually to do with sexual dominance. So that's the main course. That's why I made them a bonus module. But they're just adjustments. There's my foolproof cunnilingus technique in there. That's one of the aspects of the bonus module. And the other aspects of the bonus module are slight variations you can make to basic sex positions that are far more likely to give a woman a penetrative orgasm. And I thought guys need to know this stuff, so I'm going to add this in there anyway as a bonus because, like, why not? You know?
Yeah, and it's good, and it's all stuff that will actually work. I mean, even stuff like the angles. You know, there's certain kinds of pillows you can buy actually online that have the right angle, and there's a reason why those things actually work. And so Sterling explains it in the course and shows you exactly why that's the case, which is, again, you just having like that amount of knowledge would put you above 90% of guys that, you know. So just having that knowledge, I mean, think about how valuable it is to be better than 90% of guys. And if you like really study the course, you'll be better than 99% of guys. Like literally almost every single girl that you ever have a sexual encounter with, you'll be the best that she's ever had. That's a pretty valuable thing, you know. And I'm not exaggerating. I don't feel like I'm exaggerating, but
no, I don't think you are. I want to show you. In fact, now you've said that, I want to show you one really quick testimonial that I got from a guy, and this wasn't even from the full video course. This was just the cunnilingus breakdown that I do in the course. I also taught this young man. Let me share this window with you very quickly because you brought it up. Okay, that should be shared screen now.
Oh, here we go. Okay,
I'm going to zoom in on this because that's okay, great. You can see that now. Yeah. So hi, Stirling. I covered his face up and obviously his name. I caught your presentation in quarter 2, and I also bought your book. Thank you for the presentation and also the numerous tips. Just wanted to share that I've had my 3rd lay ever last night with a 22-year-old Vietnamese chick. It was also the first time I ever went down on a girl, and I followed your guidelines on how to eat pussy. The results were effing spectacular. She wouldn't stop asking how many girls I've been practicing this on. Anyways, she let out her animal side in the end, and just wanted to say thank you once again for your knowledge and experience. P.S. Here's some of the marks she left on me.
Nice. Oh my God.
Yes. So that's I just had to share that because that's a guy who's had 3 sexual partners before, never gone down on a girl before, listened to my advice, and she thinks he's this sexual Lothario because of it. So if that's not proof that I know what the hell I'm talking about, I don't know what is, John.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, that was the thing is, like, you know, normally I'd be very hesitant to promote any kind of course like this, but the fact that you are a professional, you do this for a living, the fact that I watch the course and I agree with it 100%. I mean, you know more than I do, but everything I know, it completely is in alignment with, and the fact that it's so, you know, that you're such an intelligent guy presenting this is important as well, because you're breaking it down, because the way that you're presenting it is a very logical fashion where a lot of guys can follow this and understand it. So you know, that's why I think guys are going to get phenomenal results that they're not going to get from other places. Because, you know, believe me, I like in the industry that I'm in here teaching men, I've researched everything, right? I've read every book. I've, you know, seen most of the videos and all the stuff, so that I'm familiar with it, and just even in my own personal life and experience. And this is the best, and it's concise. Like, I mean, it's 5 hours, but it's concise in the fact that, like, you're getting so much in such a short period of time. So that's why, yeah, I think that it's going to be a huge value for guys. So, but guys, make sure there's a link down below. Also, I'll drop it in the chat one more time, but make sure that you grab it before the 3rd, because that's when the price is going to be twice as much. He's giving you a 50% discount here on the course at the full price. I think it's still, you know, if you could change your sex life permanently and become, you know, one of the top 99%, you know, top 1% of guys that, as far as this, and truly feel comfortable being dominant, I mean, it'd be worth paying even more than the full price. But if you want to get the 50% discount, go and definitely do that. So
Yeah, and that's and like I said, if any guys have any questions in the chat you want me to ask right now, I'm happy to take some questions or whatever you want to do, John. So
Yeah, let's do that real quick. Give you guys a chance to ask Sterling any questions there. He's been really good with pretty much answering anything. So if you got questions, now's the time to ask him. And yeah, let's see. We've got one about what do you think about NoFap?
NoFap. I think that not masturbating is a good idea. I don't really advocate guys use porn, except for one very, very specific circumstance, which I sort of outline in my book. I'm not, however, a semen retention guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should be having sex and getting your semen out that way. I don't think you should say I think it's perfectly. It just follows like the natural order of things for men to be ejaculating in or on a woman and not into a tissue. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's my opinions on NoFap.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement about that. I don't like I think the practice of not using is a crutch, like porn as a crutch is good, but the whole like people put too much emphasis on NoFap, like as it gives you some kind of superpowers, and it doesn't give you
like
superpowers.
Not masturbating gives you the reason that you don't masturbate is so that it gives you the sexual drive to go out and talk to women.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
That's the purpose of and that was the original purpose of NoFap, is like, don't jerk off so you're horny and you want to, like, oh god, I gotta get this out. All right, I gotta go talk to someone, or I gotta hit up like a million girls on Tinder or whatever it is, and I've got to make this work because I don't have another choice, you know. And that's a good thing. It forces you to do uncomfortable things, so it's a positive stress in your life, you know.
100%. Yep, exactly. Yeah, because if you're getting a need met at a lower level, you won't try and get it met at a higher level. Let's see. We got this question. I don't know if you can really answer.
Because I'm alive now. Like, because I've been shooting porn for the last like 4 years. I was busy.
And by the way, I guess it's worth saying, because I don't know if you've read 50 Shades of Grey. I've obviously read 50 Shades of Grey. It's such bad, like that is not at all. Do not be like, use that as like a reference, like just as a very remote reference. But if you try to emulate that, it's going to be very bad for you.
I'll tell you guys. I'll tell you what is a good reference for a BDSM dom sub relationship in a movie.
Okay, I know.
If you're actually interested in learning about that kind of dynamic and seeing it played out well in a movie, watch the movie The Secretary.
Yeah,
that movie actually shows you what dom sub dynamics look like, and it's really well done. And everyone, if you say that to any girl, any person in the actual BDSM scene, they will agree with you.
Yeah. In fact, that's it's really interesting movie to just throw on a date night and just be like, hey, this is an interesting. And then
exactly
watch the reaction. Like you could probably have a 90% success rate in a very positive reaction. Even though when you watch it, guys, you'll be like, this is some really weird shit here. Like, but especially a couple of those scenes where
yeah, there's a few, but it's like it's a litmus test in a way. If you want to do like a movie night with a girl, that's the one you put on, because that's a real litmus test for like how freaky she might want to get.
All right, here's a good question here that Justin says: will this work if you're not good looking?
Yes, because your penis has nothing to do with your face, and all the things I'm teaching you have nothing to do with your face. This is all stuff that I don't prescribe to the notion that like you have to be like facially good looking to get women off, because I know plenty of men who do my job, who are very, very good at it, who are very, very good at getting women off, and they fell out of the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down.
Yeah.
So this is like, and that's the thing. Like if you, it's just more of a reason to learn this stuff, because okay, let's say you are not the best looking dude. If you get the chance with a woman, if the window is open, you come in with this kind of bedroom game, she's sticking around.
Yeah,
you know, you're nailing it, and then she's like, damn, I'm glad I took a chance on this guy because he knows what the hell he's doing.
I mean, for the guys that don't believe it, you could flip it around. Imagine that there was some girl that was like a 6 or something, like in your opinion, but man, she just like a Hoover, like, just, and she just knew how to like do all the things. What are you going to think about that girl after that?
Exactly. You
and,
might put a ring on it, John.
right. And guys are more visual, so females are not as much. So if you would think that, just think about what a girl is going to think when she's not as visual. So
yeah, and think about this: she's not going to be able to even see your face if her head's smushed into the pillow.
True.
So.
Yeah. Let's see. We got a couple more here. Okay. What's the best way, in your opinion, to increase testosterone? Do you advocate cold showers?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different stuff you can do. Some of the easiest, the freest things you can do is get plenty of vitamin D. So if you're not in a place which has good sunlight, then obviously supplement with it. And Rich Cooper put me onto this recently. You also want to, if you're supplementing with vitamin D, you also want to supplement with vitamin K.
K2.
Say that again. K2. Yes.
Yeah. K2. Yep.
Yes. Because it gets the calcium out of your arteries into your bones. So that's the first one. But if you have sunlight, like I do here in Portugal, because it's quite nice right now, train outside with your shirt off in short shorts. Get as much sun on your bare skin as you possibly can. So that's the first one. Second thing, lift heavy shit. Deadlift, squat, bench press, military press. 4 key big lifts, which can like compound movements. Personally, the deadlift is like my favorite thing in the world. That will start firing up your testes to produce quite a lot of testosterone. And 50 milligrams of zinc a day is another really good one to throw in there. Yeah, those are just a few things. Yeah.
The only thing I might add is I found boron can be helpful if you have high SHBG levels.
Yeah, and sex hormone binding globulin, right? Yeah, and stinging nettle root as well. Yeah. Oh, as for the cold showers question, I'm a fan of cold showers. To be honest, they have to be cold enough, though. That's the problem. They have to be like shivering cold.
Yeah.
And you want to, and they're mainly for fat loss more so than testosterone. Like I'll use them. Like they're good for getting you fired up and like excited to start the day, though. I like them like that. Some people don't have that same effect, but I do when I do them.
And I'll actually add one more that actually goes right along with this, which is, so those are all the things that Stirling just described are the chemical type of vitamins and nutrients that you can do to increase testosterone, but psychological elements increase testosterone as well. So if you're more dominant, let's say in the bedroom, and you're getting positive responses, that's going to increase your testosterone, right? Anytime you have a victory, anytime your testosterone increases, and they've done studies that have shown that. So by actually being more dominant, your testosterone it's like a virtuous cycle.
Yeah, exactly. It's what do you call it? Like a positive feedback loop, right?
Yeah. Let's see. This one is kind of silly. Will this work on chicks with blue eyes? I don't know.
No. It works on every girl except one with blue eyes.
Yeah. You have to blindfold her. Let's see. What other question? Oh, and this is interesting. So Safaya said it's masculine for us. Everything else is cheesy. We're not afraid of your own juice. I thought that was interesting, just in the sense that a lot of all these things, I don't know, maybe would you agree with this, that it comes down to the masculinity, the dominance aspect of it, not necessarily the acts themselves.
Yeah. It's like the subcommunication of them all, right? Like I said before, it's the subcommunication that you have. Ultimately, it's the subcommunication that you have the capacity for violence, I believe.
And that's why also I think it was interesting that you mentioned the depravity sort of aspect of it, or the something that is not depravity. What's
degrading,
right? Because even though it's like it's such a weird thing to say, but there's a truth to it, because that is an element. It's an element of it, and that like that feeling of that it's almost like allowing you to do this. It sends a signal that you would so let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Let's see how you handle this one.
I got asked this question the other day as well, actually. So I have a good response for this, I think. So here's, what are your top recommendations and tips for a guy's first time? So if you're a virgin and you're a guy, first of all, don't panic. Don't worry about it. Don't stress. Don't be don't have high expectations for yourself, and don't beat yourself up over it. Everyone's first time sucks. Everybody's. Nobody on this planet has had a first time that was perfect. Like they either, especially for dudes, they either popped in like 30 seconds or they never popped. That's been my experience whenever I've asked guys about their virginity. It's been one of those two things. No dude has ever said, I lost my virginity and I rocked her socks off. Never happened. Right? Because sex is a skill, just like anything else. You have to learn it through experience. So, that being said, what can you bring to the bedroom as a virgin? Enthusiasm. Just enjoy yourself and make sure she knows that you're enjoying yourself and you're enjoying her. If you bring enthusiasm, then it's going to be a fun experience.
Agreed. Let's see. This one's kind of, how do you not quick in some water? I'm not sure exactly.
Not exactly sure what the water has to do with it, but how do you not quick? Well, there's a bunch of different ways. I cover a bunch of this stuff in my book, but first thing, simple, really quick, easy thing that most guys can apply is controlling their breathing. A lot of guys sort of when they lose control of the sensation, then it sort of runs away from them and they can't stop. Typically, you can get the sensation under control just by big, deep diaphragm belly breaths. Typically, can help you regain, take away the sensitivity. Yeah, that's the first thing I'd tell every guy to try.
I think the irony of the situation too is it's like when you're younger, like there's like this curve almost. I don't know. Let me know if you agree with this, but it's like your goal is like don't nut so fast, right? And then there's this, and then immediately it goes from your concern being don't nut so fast to the exact opposite, which is damn it, like like finally finish already. So it's like, have like a time where it's good, like it's like you jump from one worry to the other. It's just, that's what it is to be a guy.
There's maybe like 5 years like in your mid 20s, which are like the perfect years, and exactly. After that, it's like you said, it's the complete opposite.
So when you're older, you'll be wishing you had that prom, and now you wish you could last like the old guys. So you can't win. So let's see. What's the best way to increase blood flow?
High intensity interval training. So doing basically improving your cardiovascular system through. I recommend high intensity interval training or like sprint exercises. Personally, I mean, you're quite a fan of long distance cardio, John. What do you think about that?
I mean, long distance cardio is probably not. I think it's probably more like you said, that the high intensity is gonna be faster at delivering blood. I mean, long-term like endurance training can increase capillary density, but that's probably not going to increase blood flow to where you want it to, right? The other thing, I guess there's, and I'll be reviewing, I've got something I'll be talking about sometime on this channel. I'm reviewing it right now, but there's, well, obviously Viagra and Cialis work by increasing blood flow, but there's medical devices that can break up calcium deposits in the artery, the
big one.
And that can actually have the effects of permanently increasing the blood flow in that area. So I actually have a device here that I'm going to be trying out here, and then I'll be talking about it and doing a review and stuff, but pretty interesting. So and then let's see, I think we got like couple more questions.
Asking for a friend. I like that. They're always asking for a friend. Lots of friends out there. I'm assuming animated artist is a man. I'm going to assume that because if you're a woman, it's stupidly easy to get into the industry. All you have to do is basically send an email, and you're in. As a guy, it first of all depends where you are in the world. If you're anywhere other than America, it is going to be infinitely harder. What I did is very, very rare. I got into the industry in Australia, then I got into the industry in England, then I got into the industry in Europe, and then I finally got into the industry in Los Angeles. What I did, like no one else has done. It's extremely hard just for someone to do what I did and break into like 4 different industries from scratch. because I've done that, I can tell you how to do that. The way you do that is getting your foot in the door, getting the first scene is the hardest thing. So you have to find a way for them to give you a shot. Typically, the way guys do this in the US is their girlfriend gets them in, or a girl, or they know a girl who maybe they're in a swinging scene or something. They know a girl who's in the industry. That the two of them hit it off. She realizes that he's good in bed, and then he's like, "Would you mind putting a good word in for me?" Or maybe asking a small time director, not a big, not Brazzers, not some big company, a small company to take a shot on me. And then she might be able to get you a scene with her or something that way, right? So the swinging scene is a lot of people in our industry who are in the swinging scene or in the BDSM scene. So that's a good way to network, to try and find somebody. That is typically how most guys get into it. Also, if you are in Los Angeles, there are multiple agents that represent dudes. Your chances of them accepting your application are pretty slim if you haven't got any experience, unless you happen to be extremely good looking with a gigantic penis, in which case they will probably give you a shot straight away. If you don't have that, which I didn't, you need to prove that you can do the job. That's the key thing there, is like proving that they're not going to waste thousands of dollars on a scene if you flop.
Yeah. Talk about some pressure.
Yeah, it's a little bit of pressure.
I guess, a question. So, because a lot of guys ask this question, right? Would you say, I mean, it's a job like any other job. I think maybe guys think that it's such a great job in their head. What's your opinion on that? Is
it's still a job, man. It's still it's the greatest job in the world about a third of the time. So, because I always say that the girls in my industry, it's like a third of them. So guys think that women in my industry are all these raging nymphomaniacs. That is not the case. About a third of them are. About a third of the girls in my industry are raging nymphomaniacs. They are fantastic to work with. They make they make your life a living dream. It's brilliant. You wonder why you're even getting paid. Now, there's another third who are what I call professionals. So the nymphomaniacs, before with the cameras not even rolling, they're sucking your dick, right? There's the chemistry going on all day, and it's like you're trying to tear each other's clothes off. The third, that's the professionals, they're polite, they're lovely, they're respectful, but there's nothing sexual going on until it's time for clothes to come off. Cool. Then we get down to business, and they're still good to work with. But they're not flirting with you the whole day, right? They're taking typically these girls actually have a boyfriend or a husband as well. So that's kind of separates the two. Then the last third are what I call the divas. And this is why you're really getting paid, because these girls are horrible to work with. They would rather be checking their Instagram feed than be on set. They have the aura of, you're just lucky to be near my vagina, going around them all day. So that's what really trying to get a boner in front of a girl who would rather be on her Instagram is the challenge there. Like, those are the third. That's what really makes this a job, is basically that. Yeah.
Makes sense. Let's see. Unique says, Sterling, it was interesting when you spoke with Myron and Fresh Prince about women being hypergamous in the porn industry when it comes to working with actors. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So hypergamy, right, is the idea that women tend to basically date up, right? They're constantly looking to level up the partner they're with, right? So what this means is that the top tier dudes tend to get most of the women. And that's not any different in my industry. The top tier male talent in my industry, so the guys who I say contract stars with Brazzers, for example, these are the guys that every girl wants to work with and every girl wants to shoot content with, and they basically have endless vaginas being thrown at them effectively. Now, what happens, though, is that, and I've seen this multiple times, and say a new girl comes into the industry, like brand new performer, female performer. She comes in the industry. She'll work with pretty much, there's not that many guys in the industry. There's probably only a talent pool of maybe 30, 40 dudes actively working. That's basically it. There's not that many. So within 6 months, typically a new girl has worked with basically every dude at that point. But what happens is they come in and because I'm not going to lie, I'm like a mid-tier performer. I'm not bottom tier, but I'm not a contract star. I'm like middle to like top middle tier, right? That's kind of where I sit. Just being honest. So I'll work with this girl, you know, in the first 6 months of her career, and she'll be lovely. She'll be a lovely sweetheart. Great time. But then once she's made the rounds and once these girls have worked with this top tier male talent, they don't want to work with anybody else because that's the hypergamy kicking in. It's like, crap, like this is the top tier dude. I have to shoot with this guy. Oh, okay, fine. And that's when they become the diva. That's when that diva attitude kicks in. And if they have to get booked with a dude who's like mid-tier, they're like, all right, fine, if I have to. And they had that kind of attitude about them. So, and I've seen it multiple times. It's so obvious. And it's just a consequence of the natural hypergamy, basically.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Let's see. We've got a few more here. How much of an impact does a man's physique have for a woman in the bedroom?
It's always it's nice having abs because girls do like rubbing their hands over your abs and like grabbing your giant biceps and your shoulders and stuff. And it's also, if you're in shape, you can do a better job. So basically, I'm not going to lie about that. That's the facts.
Yeah, I found that the LMR would be a lot less the last minute resistance.
If you just take your shirt off, John, and just show your abs off. Oh, you want to leave? Okay. Let me just get a drink of water.
Like the level of like that of amped up, like excited that they'll be, because I think it's like, you know, some guys, if you don't have a really good physique, then you know the girl's really attracted to you. She wants to have sex with you because she's really attracted. Like you've got a connection, it's something, or you've sparked her interest. But like if you have a really good physique and she knows it, then like the whole time that she's out with you, she's thinking, I wonder what it looks like. You know, she's thinking about you taking your shirt off, or so you kind of have like an advantage in that aspect.
It's just the same way that if you go on a date with a girl with giant titties, you're thinking, damn, what do they look like?
Right. Yeah. So let's see. I think there was one more in here. Okay, there's a couple. This one, why is it I have erectile dysfunction with some chicks and not others? What are ways to prevent dysfunction? That's a good question.
That's a good question. It depends. There's multiple reasons why you can get erectile dysfunction. So this is a very, very long, in-depth question, unfortunately. But I'll touch on some things. It could be that you're not actually into these girls. That is one thing that could be there. Like you're just trying to get your notch count up, but you're trying to bang girls you're not actually into. Second thing is you could be so into them that you are mind fucking yourself. Like you're getting yourself in your head. And you're playing that, like we described very early in this podcast, that you're trying to please them too much, trying to impress them too much, and you're in this negative thought spiral. So that's why I recommend guys come from this sexual pervert, a selfish pervert frame of mind, where she's your little plaything for the evening, and you're just going to have fun with it. You know, it takes a lot of the pressure off you, and therefore that performance anxiety kind of disappears when you come at things from that frame of mind. So. That's if it's a problem where you're having it with some chicks and not with others, I would definitely say it's a mental aspect to it more than anything else.
Yeah, that I like that. Also, that selfish pervert frame shows up again to save the day in this situation. But let's see. All right, and then the last one I think we'll do here. The question we all want answered: does size matter?
Okay, honest to God answer. Yes and no. So when guys think big penises, guys think length. Whenever a girl talks about a big dick, she's referring to the girth.
Yeah,
this is facts. I've verified this numerous times. So if you have a girthier dick, she just feels full. She feels full. There's more sensation to it. Right, so it's more pleasurable for her. So I would say a thicker dick is better than a regular sized thick penis is more pleasurable for a woman than a thin long one. That's the honest answer.
And let me tell you guys, I won't spoil the secret or the surprise, but in Stirling's course, there is a solution for not having the girth that you'd like. That could actually be an advantage to you in some circumstances.
Oh yes. Well, like I do that, and I have a relatively thick one. So yeah. I mean, I just stretch them out, but that's just me, John. I don't care if they can fit 2 babies out when I'm done with them.
let the high tier guys have them now. Deal with that. But,
Exactly.
the technique that this one, now you'll be in the 0.001% of guys, like, so
Yeah.
well, I won't spoil it, but you guys got to watch the course to see it. So yeah, so I think that's it. We'll wrap this up. So guys, if you haven't already taken advantage of getting the discount, I'll throw it one more time in the chat and in the link below. At least click the link and go check it out, read and go through the table of contents. You can get the link down below or in the chat there. And yeah, like I said, I watch it myself. I think it's excellent, well worth the value. Otherwise, I wouldn't be promoting it here, especially spending this much time on it. And yeah, I feel like this is, if I could give you a better resource to recommend, I would, but there's not. This is the best resource that I have encountered so far on this. So if you want to become more dominant, more sexually dominant, and I know a lot of you guys are standoffish, it's kind of an intimidating thing, and you're trying to figure out how to get there. It's a step-by-step, literally step-by-step progression level of how to do it, completely demonstrated for you. I don't think you can mess this up. So
yeah, that's my intention, is that you can't mess it. The intention is that you won't be able to mess this up, basically.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Sterling. And yeah, good luck.
Thank you.